Welcome to the Think Small podcast, hypergrowth for small businesses. So, what's slowing you down?
Morning, everybody. This is Rob Godlewski, again, your host with the Think Small podcast. And today our special guest is Stephen Demaayer. And Stephen is the CEO of Novatech, a managed IT and cybersecurity business. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us on the Think Small podcast today.
Thanks for having me, Rob. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, great. So I've talked to a few different folks in the Think Small podcast who have led managed IT services, but your business is a little bit unique in that you've added the print component of a business needs to your managed IT and your cybersecurity services. And when we had our first discussion, I thought, well, this makes all the sense in the world. So, Stephen, tell us a little bit about Novatech and what you do and what problems you solve for your customers.
Yeah, so I think when you think about Novatech and what makes us unique is we offer a complete managed office solution to our clients. And, so that is we manage their IT. And as part of that, we're also managing their print infrastructure. So, and when you consider that a printer, just like a laptop, is an end user device that is exposed to the internet, you can understand where the cybersecurity component of that really becomes critical. And then being able to put all of that together and think about how Novatech can support all of that and secure all of that, manage all of that for our clients. That is our unique proposition. And that's what we do for a lot of our clients.
Interesting. So Stephen, talk to me about the beginnings of Novatech, the beginnings of the company, and how you landed into this role as CEO.
Yeah, so Novatech was started in the 80s and started primarily as Nova Copy, and it's actually grown. Yeah, that's right. It's actually grown through a lot of acquisitions. And initially it started just as a company that sold copiers,
Sure.
and then, printers. About 5 to 6 years ago, we acquired a managed IT company and started getting into the managed IT side of the business. And that's now grown to about 25% of the business is managed IT. The other 75% is the managed copiers and printers side of business. And I joined last year, August, and my background for about 25 years has all been in the managed IT. So when you think about, when you think about my experience then and how it applies, it's how do we really scale the managed IT part, and how do we bring it closer together in this managed office vision for our clients? So, because as you go from the print industry is also changing, and it's becoming a lot more into how do you manage that printer fleet instead of you're just selling the customer,
selling the box.
Exactly. So that changes, and I think that creates a different. You're really offering a solution and a managed service to the client instead of just a device and maintenance on top of that.
Interesting. So even though you've been there a relatively short time, your experience in the managed IT services space is really what's going to accelerate the growth of the whole company moving forward.
That's right. Because the print business, if you look at it just as the number of copiers and printers that are sold, that's declining.
Absolutely.
And we all know why. I mean, people are
Sure.
using less, they're printing less. So that part is declining. But there are some areas that are definitely growing. And those areas they need better security on those. Customers need better security on those printers because of obviously the rise in cybersecurity threats. They need better management of those printers. So looking at managing, securing, and putting that together with an overall managed IT solution is an area that is very much growing. So, and that's how we've been pivoting, especially in the last year.
Mm-hmm. And and your growth has come from both acquisitions and organic growth, obviously. And you cover, I'll call a super regional swath of the country, right? You're a multi-state provider of
Yes.
these services. So tell us a little bit about that and where the growth has come from.
Yeah, we are primarily based in the Southeast. It's
Okay.
we
Yeah.
love being there. It's a growing area of the U.S. We are in some large markets like Florida and Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee. I'm personally based in Nashville. That's our headquarters are in Nashville. But we're also in Texas. Got a lot of presence in Texas. And
Yeah.
we've got a bit of a presence in Wisconsin, which is outside of the Southeast, clearly, but but it's a one area that we have done an acquisition on.
Oh, good.
Um, a very strategic overall acquisition for us. So we do have that as another area in the business. But we're primarily in the Southeast and cover pretty much all the states in the Southeast.
Yeah. So Stephen, what I like to ask our guests is, you've been in this industry for a long time, and you've probably been in the managed IT services space before it was as popular as it is today, of course. How did you navigate a time of down sales or contracting revenue? And how did you lead a business, through that and not only from the aspect of operationally, but from an HR standpoint, from a personal standpoint? How did you manage and navigate a business through those periods?
Yeah, and we've had those, in the managed IT space. If you think back in 2008, with the Great Recession that we had, COVID, obviously, those are two very memorable times that we went through contraction in the business. And it was tough. But I think on both sides, we felt that the long-term prospect for managed IT was there. So we never, we had to trim cost as we went through those, but we never cut capability and our ability to deliver service to clients, and making sure we've got a full breadth of offering to be able to do that. So, every time we went through that, yes, we cut some capacity, but try to keep the diversity of our offering, the depth of our technical team. So we really took care of a lot of the technical folks that are the foundation of providing, the deep technical expertise that we do. So going through those, we managed and probably didn't make a lot of money during those times, but we try to manage that to keep it because we knew we were going to come out at the other end, much stronger and in a position to grow because we had the staff and the expertise required to be able to do that.
So were there times when you considered new service offerings or different product expansion or service offering expansion, if you will, to essentially offer more products to your existing customers? Because as you and I both know, Stephen, that's the easiest place to get new business, or in these cases of down revenue cycles, to maintain business.
Yeah. I mean, if you think before COVID, when you think of a managed IT provider, you provided managed IT and you managed the environment of the client within the office. That's what
true.
You did. And going through COVID dramatically changed that, within 2-3 months. So we had to pivot our offerings significantly to be able to accommodate for that. I mean, you've got now a remote workforce that means home connectivity. All the applications need to be able to work, remotely. They need to be able to secure them remotely. So, and cloud worked very well for that. So I think that also accelerated the cloud adoption because, having all this on-prem didn't even work with the network infrastructure you had. So you accelerated the cloud. So we came through that with a lot more investment into cloud infrastructure, cloud capability, cybersecurity infrastructure, cybersecurity capability. So those are areas that we pivoted and invested heavily on to be able to support it.
Interesting. So you've literally seen it all and navigated some pretty significantly rough downturns in the economic cycles over the past years. And, you and I have lived through that period in gosh, when was it? 07, 08, 09.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And honestly, Stephen, sometimes I think back to that period and I actually think it was worse than the business economic impact from COVID.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely was. I think I remember how you felt and what you expected when you were going to 2007, 2008. It was a longer period of time of uncertainty. And I think that's what really caused a lot of the issues. During COVID, I think that, yes, there was uncertainty for a few months as you didn't know the extent of the pandemic and how it was going to impact, but pretty quickly people adapted to working from home and you felt, okay, yeah, I mean, things can go on. And then the hiring picked up, the layoffs happened and then the hiring picked up almost, within a 6-month time frame. But during the Great Recession, in 2007, 2008, I think that it was not clear how long it was going to take. I mean, I remember, the stock market every time made, headlines and how much it was dropping, and you didn't know how long you were going to stay. And that degree of uncertainty, that's harder to manage a business under that degree of uncertainty. So, and because it's a longer period of time, because you're making decisions for 1 to 2 years,
right.
Not having, a good understanding of what's going to happen in those 1 to 2 years. So yeah, that was very, very challenging.
Right. So let's flip the script on that question a little bit, Stephen, and talk about some better times. Obviously, you've led an organization and probably leading this organization, Novatech, through a period of rapid growth and expansion. But how have you been able to navigate a company through a rapid sales expansion? Because as you and I know, Stephen, the challenges that come through rapid growth are sometimes a little more tricky and a little less visible than those challenges that come from a contraction period. So tell us about how you've managed the business through that.
Yeah, and I've actually gone through a couple of periods of rapid growth, rapid employee. I mean, I think in a 5-year period, I went from 300 employees at one of the companies I was working for to about 6,000. So and just the amount of hiring, the culture that you're trying to build as quickly, because you're hiring people from all over the place in different cultures that, company cultures, I mean, that you all want to adapt the culture of the company that you're part of. So those are tough things to do. And it sounds glamorous to have to go through that significant expansion, but it's a lot of disruption and hard work to get through it and to get basic things right. Because you do want to establish the foundation and not put bubble gum on everything, because then you're finding yourself at 10, 15 times that size, and it just doesn't support itself. And you've built a on a very weak foundation. So I think going through that exponential growth, it teaches you to really pay attention to the foundation that you're building and pay attention to the culture that you're creating and the first hires, the leaders that you have. because there's the leaders that you have within that structure that really then have the ability to influence the next level down, because your personal ability to do that in such a rapidly expanding just gets diluted extremely quickly, especially because your focus is, okay, what is the foundation? You're constantly focused on what is the foundation that I want to scale on. So I think that's that's something that you don't really think about until you have gone through it.
Right. And you have to become an expert almost immediately in a subject matter that, quite honestly, Stephen, you probably know very little about. And I'm saying that from experience, right? You know the technical aspects of your business. You know the customer relationships aspects of your business. But just gave an example of growing 10, 12, 15x in employees. And you're talking about culture. It's got nothing to do with the technical aspects of your business. It's about culture. And you probably didn't go to school to to explore a business culture. So yeah, it's really interesting. So I can imagine that growing a business that rapidly through that short a period of time is really makes you scratch your head. And
many long days, many long days. So, but at the same time, also very, very exciting. So, because all that energy that you're getting from the new business, the new clients coming in, the new employees coming in, creates a very energizing environment. So, absolutely.
So back to the business of Novatech, I can imagine where you're probably very bullish on the future because a large proportion of your revenue is still in the copier side of the business. Am I?
No, you're right. You're right. About 75% is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the long-term transition from a more, selling the box to a managed services model is vitally important, and I think it's got a huge runway for growth for you. That alone is, I think, a tremendous not only challenge but huge opportunity. Talk a little bit more about that. How are you navigating essentially a mindset change of your own business from an old model to a new model?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you're selling, so think about the sales organization first. Start at the very tip of the spear for us with the sales organization. When you're selling a piece of equipment, it's very different than you're selling a service. A service is not tangible.
Very much so.
You can't just read a spec sheet and get that from a service. So you've got to be able to make sure the client understands what problem you're solving with your service. And I think that being able to do that and for a salesperson is very, very different than what they were used to. So training the organization to be able to do that, creating experts that can support them, with clients to be able to do that, because you got to explain to the client properly how the solution works and what it solves for them, what problems it solves for them. So on the sales side, it's a very big change. When you go on the delivery side, which is the team that actually services the client, it's also very, very different, because when a client says, you're in charge of my IT, it's not like you can say, oh, sorry, that didn't work. We'll go back to the manufacturer and, it's going to take us 2 to 4 weeks to get it fixed. The client's going to say, no, I need to operate my business. So you've got to be much, much faster and have a much higher degree of ownership and touch for that client to be able to take care of the client when you have an outage that impacts their business. Because just having a copier out or a printer out is very different than the whole network for the client is down. They can't do business. Most clients cannot do business if their IT is not working. So the level of expectation on the service that we provide is significantly higher when you're doing that. So, so we've done a lot into creating that culture of that urgency and that, we call it, we want to make raving fans out of our clients because we do. We want them to be excited about the service and to be recommenders for that service. So that starts with making sure the people that provide that service, understand that urgency, understand that client centricity, understand that we are, the service. It's not a product. It's not a device that you can, just install, configure, and move on.
Right, right. So you almost have to transition your team to being predictive in nature, right?
Yeah,
Almost solving problems before they come up.
that's right. That's right. Because clients don't pay us to solve problems when they happen. They pay us that they don't have these problems to begin with.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And because every time they have a problem, it significantly impacts their business. And I think it just that is the fundamental difference, going from the older model of selling these devices or printers or copiers versus selling a service.
Right. So Stephen, I would be completely remiss if I didn't ask you, a managed IT services provider, about the impact of artificial intelligence, not only on your own business, but on your client's business. So please tell us your journey into AI for not only your own business, but how you're implementing it, in your clients and customers' businesses.
Yeah, I think AI is definitely going to have an impact and is already having an impact on our business. I think a couple of places where it's really helping us is in our ability to provide faster solution and more predictive solutions to clients. AI allows us to know which part is going to break, when it's going to break, when the client's going to run out of something, when how fast we have to solve that problem. So it allows us to be better prepared to be proactive with the
Mm-hmm.
client. And I think that's where we're really applying AI. So if you think about right now, well, not right now, I would say in the past, I mean, we'll pick very simple, a printer or a copier. It breaks, the client calls us and we send a tech to fix it.
Right.
Right now, what we're moving to, and we're already there with a lot of the intelligence for that, is we know when that part is going to hit a maintenance threshold that they're much more likely to break. So what do we do when we go and fix something? We also fix the other thing that we know is going to get close to the breaking point. So our ability to be much more proactive in solving the next problem gets increased significantly. And I think that's where AI really, really helps us and helps us deliver a much better experience to the customer. The other thing is that we are in an industry, in the print industry, where you've got people that have been doing this for 30 years and they have all the knowledge, but they are also getting to the point where they are retiring. So how do we get the new techs in this place? How do we get them ready to be able to do that? Well, we can do that by having better tools at their disposal to help them solve the problem faster. And I think AI will be able to do that because that AI pulls from our mature, experienced techs that have solved these problems before to be able to use that for the newer techs that are coming into the workforce and have them solve these problems for our clients.
Stephen, I think one of the biggest benefits that AI can be used as a tool is aggregating multiple customer data sets to bring a solution to the forefront for a technician, like a Novatech technician. rather than just relying on, what your experience with your copier at ABC company did, right? So now you've got a network out there of 10,000 copiers in the field, and you can aggregate all that data using AI to really get good at fixing ABC's copier.
Absolutely. And I mean, a lot of the tools that we use have that data already. It's using
Right.
AI to tap upon that allows us to really do exactly what you're describing, Rob.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Interesting. So how then are you at a point yet where you're employing AI technology within your clients' businesses?
We are. And the two things that I mentioned as examples, we are actively doing. But we want to expand how much we do of it. Meaning,
Hmm.
yes, we have it and it applies to a lot of subset of problems. We want to continue to expand that and make that even a bigger part. It's all about feeding the right information to the AI through experience and teaching the techs how to use that we get better at doing this. So we are, while we have a lot of the data and we've started down the journey, I think there's a lot more for us. There's a lot more opportunity for us to be able to capture on that and be able to deliver a better overall experience to our clients.
Interesting, interesting. So Stephen, what does the future hold for Novatech? What does the next 3 to 5 years look like for the business?
I think if we look at the next 3 to 5 years for us, we're going to continue down the journey where our managed services, our proactive, predictive services are going to significantly increase because that part of the business is growing into high double digits. Okay.
Oh,
And
I'm sure.
where the other part of the business, which is the legacy part of the business, is fairly flat. So we're seeing that pretty soon we're going to have 50% of our business really be recurring versus that
Right.
one-off things that we do. And I think we'll hit that milestone in about 3 years, not even 5 years. In about 3 years, we'll hit that milestone. And think about how different the business is when you've got a business that every month you've got to do these things to versus, you've got the recurring business and the recurring monthly recurring revenue that you've got to support the core of your business already. When that passes the 50% mark, it really changes the dynamics of the business.
Right. So from a forecasted growth perspective,
Mhm.
do you see clearly you have a big challenge in navigating the business from a a majority of your business being print related to managed IT. But do you feel a large percentage of growth overall for the business in the next, the foreseeable future?
Yeah, I think we will see growth between 20 and 30% in our managed IT for the next 3 to 5 years. And that will mean that in about 5 years, we should have the majority of our growth being in the managed IT. Sorry, the majority of the business being in the managed IT
Right,
space.
right.
So, and that's even without inorganic, so without acquisition. So
Mm.
just the organic trajectory that we have. So I think that's what we think it will be.
And for a business like yours that does have an M&A strategy, right? Acquisitions of other related businesses are on the table for you. Clearly, you're going to be focusing on more of a managed IT prospect than a print related prospect for an acquisition. So that's only going to accelerate that growth on the managed IT side.
Yes, but I would say it's actually more nuanced than that. And I'll give you an
Hmm.
example. So um, we've got 10,000 customers. Okay.
Okay.
About 500 of those are managed IT customers. Okay, that's the overlap. The
500
other
of 10,000?
That's correct. The
Wow.
other 9,500, not all are large enough that they would benefit from a managed IT, but based upon our analysis, about half of them are. So think about that as a opportunity for us as a company, really servicing the other 4,500 of our already customers in managed IT. And if you think about an acquisition strategy, that is a unique advantage that we do have. We do the print and copier well, but we also do the managed IT really well. So doing an acquisition of a printer copier business that doesn't have that capability allows us to really get a lot more benefit out of an acquisition than a standard printer copier acquisition would be. So
Sure.
For us, that is a huge benefit. And we think that it's a multiplier when we do acquisitions, because you're also acquiring not just that core business from a printer and copier, but we're acquiring a customer base that you can really sell and
Of
position
course.
managed IT for. And there is value in that. And we believe that is a great strategy for growth for us in the future.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Well, listen, Stephen, this has been such a great conversation. I'm really intrigued by the combination of technology that resides within Novatech and servicing your customers. And your story about integrating AI into the business is really interesting. So, Stephen Demaayer, CEO of Novatech, managed IT, cybersecurity, and business communications. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Think Small podcast.
Thank you, Rob. I'm real excited, like I said, and very much appreciate the invite.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Stephen. Have a great day.
Welcome to the Think Small podcast, hypergrowth for small businesses. So, what's slowing you down?